The fluorescent lights of the grocery store buzzed like angry wasps above my head, drilling into my skull with their relentless hum. I pressed my fingers against my temple, trying to massage away the headache that had been building since my double shift ended an hour ago. The linoleum floor beneath my worn sneakers was slick with melted ice from the freezer section, and I could smell that particular combination of disinfectant and rotting produce that seemed to permeate every corner of Morrison's Market. My shopping cart had a wobbly wheel. Of course it did, and it squeaked with each push, announcing my presence to anyone unfortunate enough to be in the same aisle. I didn't care. I was too exhausted to care about anything except getting the groceries, picking up Emma from Mrs. Chen's apartment, and collapsing into bed. The list crumpled in my fist was already 2 weeks old, recycled and added to with each passing day. Pasta, sauce, the cheap kind, bread, peanut butter. I calculated each item in my head, a nervous habit I'd developed since Marcus left. $23.47 in my checking account until Friday. Emma needed new shoes. Her toes were pressing against the front of her sneakers, but that would have to wait another week. I was reaching for the store brand spaghetti when I heard it. A child crying. Not the bratty tantrum kind of crying that echoed through grocery stores when parents refused to buy candy. This was different. Panicked. Terrified. The sound of a child who was truly lost. I abandoned my cart and followed the sound, my tired legs suddenly finding energy. Years of motherhood had programmed me to respond to that particular pitch of fear. I found him in the cereal aisle, a little boy who couldn't have been more than 4 years old. He was small, with dark curls and olive skin, wearing clothes that even my untrained eye recognized as expensive. A tiny button-down shirt and pressed slacks that probably cost more than my weekly grocery budget. "Hey, sweetheart," I said softly, crouching down to his level. My knees protested. I'd been on my feet for 12 hours, but I ignored them. "Are you lost?" He looked at me with huge brown eyes swimming in tears, his chest heaving with those hitching breaths that come after prolonged crying. He said something, but I couldn't understand it. The words were foreign, tumbling out in a rush of panic. Italian. He was speaking Italian. I'd taken 2 years of Italian in college, back when I thought I'd travel the world, back when I thought I'd be someone different than a broke single mother working double shifts at a diner. Most of it had faded, buried under years of exhaustion and survival. But some things stuck. "Va tutto ben," I murmured, the words feeling strange on my tongue after so long. "It's okay. Non sei solo. Sono qui. You're not alone. I'm here." The effect was immediate. His crying stuttered to a stop, and he stared at me like I'd performed magic. I kept going, dragging up every phrase I could remember, my accent probably terrible but apparently good enough for a terrified 4-year-old. "Come to Chiami. What's your name?" "Luca," he whispered. And then the words came pouring out, too fast for me to catch most of them. But I got the important parts. He'd let go of his papa's hand. He couldn't find him. He was scared. I took his small hand in mine, so tiny, so warm, and stood up. "Andiamo a trovare tuo papà. Let's go find your papa." We walked through the store together, and I kept talking to him in Italian, stringing together whatever words I could remember. I told him about Emma, about how she was 5 and liked dinosaurs. I told him the names of the foods we passed, turning it into a game. Mela, banana, arancia. Apple, banana, orange. He was calm now, clinging to my hand, when I heard the commotion near the front of the store. Men's voices, sharp and urgent, the kind of voices that made the hair on the back of my neck stand up. I rounded the corner of the international foods aisle and stopped dead. There were 4 of them. No, 5, all in dark suits that even I knew were custom-tailored. They moved with purpose, with barely contained violence, spreading through the store like smoke. But it was the man in the center who made my breath catch in my throat. He was young, early 30s maybe, with the kind of face that belonged on magazine covers. Sharp jawline, dark hair swept back, olive skin that suggested Mediterranean heritage, but it was his eyes that froze me in place. Dark, almost black, and at that moment, absolutely wild, with something that looked like terror barely contained beneath a veneer of control. He was scanning the store with those eyes, and every employee, every customer seemed to shrink back from him. There was an aura around him, something dangerous and untouchable, like standing too close to a caged predator. Then Luca saw him. "Papa!" The word was a joyful shriek, and suddenly the little boy was pulling free from my hand and running. The man, his father, turned, and I watched his entire face transform. The terror melted into relief so profound it was almost painful to witness. He dropped to his knees, expensive suit and all, right there on the dirty grocery store floor, and caught his son in his arms. The embrace was fierce, desperate. His eyes squeezed shut, and I saw his lips moving, rapid Italian words I couldn't hear but could feel. His hand cupped the back of Luca's head like he was the most precious thing in the world. I should have left. Every instinct told me to quietly slip away, return to my abandoned cart, finish my shopping. But I was frozen, watching this moment of raw emotion from a man who otherwise looked like he could order someone's death without blinking. Then Luca was pointing at me, chattering excitedly, and those dark eyes lifted. They found me. The impact was physical. I actually took a step back, my hand coming up to clutch at my chest where my heart had suddenly forgotten its rhythm. He was looking at me like he was memorizing every detail, like he was cataloging every feature of my face. His gaze traveled from my messy ponytail — I hadn't had time to wash my hair in 2 days — down to my stained waitress uniform barely visible under my open jacket, to my worn jeans and scuffed sneakers. I was acutely aware of how I must look. Exhausted. Poor. Invisible. But he wasn't looking at me like I was invisible. He stood slowly, Luca held securely in his arms, and began walking toward me. The men in suits shifted, moving with him like a choreographed dance. Close, but not too close. Protective. Watchful. "You speak Italian." His accent was thick, beautiful, turning the English words into music. His voice was deep, quiet, but it carried. Everyone in the front of the store was watching now, though they were trying to pretend they weren't. "A little," I managed, my voice embarrassingly shaky. Just enough to help him calm down. He stopped 3 feet away, close enough that I could smell his cologne, something expensive and woody that probably cost more than my rent, close enough that I could see the perfect tailoring of his suit, the subtle pattern in the fabric, the gold watch on his wrist that caught the fluorescent light. "You found my son." It wasn't a question. His eyes hadn't left my face, and there was an intensity there that made my skin prickle with awareness. Not fear, exactly, though maybe there should have been fear, something else. Something that made me want to run and stay frozen in equal measure. "He found me, really," I said, trying to smile. I heard him crying, and I couldn't." "You couldn't walk away." He finished my sentence, still staring at me with those impossibly dark eyes. "What is your name?" I hesitated. Something told me that giving this man my name was dangerous, that it was opening a door that should stay closed. But Luca was watching me with those sweet brown eyes, and refusing seemed impossible. "Sophie. Sophie Mitchell." He repeated it, my name in his accent, and it sounded different, better. "Sophie." One of the suited men stepped closer and murmured something in rapid Italian. Too fast, too quiet for me to catch. The man, Luca's father, responded without looking away from me, his words sharp. "An order." The suited man pulled out a phone. "I need to thank you properly," Luca's father said. "My son—" His voice caught, just slightly, and his hand tightened on Luca's back. "He is everything. You brought him back to me." "Anyone would have done the same," I said. But even as the words left my mouth, I knew they weren't true. I'd seen people in this store walk past crying children, too absorbed in their phones or their own problems to care. No. The word was absolute. Not anyone. You. His head tilted slightly, studying me. "You have children." Again, not a question. I nodded. "A daughter. Emma. She's 5. Something flickered in his eyes. Interest. Calculation. "The father?" The question was too personal, too intimate for a conversation with a stranger in a grocery store. But I found myself answering anyway. "Gone." "It's just us." Wrong thing to say. I knew it immediately because his expression changed. The intensity sharpened into something else, something I couldn't name, but that made my pulse quicken. One of the suited men returned, whispered something in his ear. Whatever he said made Luca's father's jaw tighten almost imperceptibly. He nodded once, then turned his full attention back to me. I am going to ask you something, and I need you to answer honestly. His voice had dropped lower, quieter, and somehow that made it more commanding. Do you need help? The question hit me like a physical blow. I felt my face flush with humiliation because the answer was so obvious. I was standing in a grocery store in a stained uniform, calculating whether I could afford name-brand pasta, worrying about my daughter's shoes. Of course I needed help. I'm fine, I lied. His eyes narrowed slightly. He knew I was lying. Sophie. The way he said my name sent a shiver down my spine that had nothing to do with the cold air from the nearby freezer section. I'm managing, I amended, which was closer to the truth. Luca. He spoke to his son in Italian, and I caught enough to understand he was asking what I'd said to him. Luca responded enthusiastically, gesturing, his little voice bright with excitement. The father's expression softened as he listened, but his eyes stayed on me. When Luca finished, he was quiet for a long moment. You made my son feel safe when he was terrified, he finally said, in his language, in words that meant something to him. Do you understand what that means to me? I didn't know how to answer that, so I said nothing. I am Dante Caruso. He said it like it should mean something, like I should recognize the name. I didn't, but I watched the way the other shoppers suddenly found reasons to be in different aisles, the way the store manager had appeared and was hovering nervously nearby. And I don't forget debts. There's no debt, I said quickly. He's a child. He needed help. That's all. That's all, Dante repeated, and something like amusement crossed his face. You are unusual, Sophie Mitchell. One of the suited men stepped forward and held out a business card, heavy cardstock, embossed lettering. I took it automatically. There was a phone number, nothing else. If you need anything, Dante said. Anything at all. You call this number. I don't need... You will call. It was a command, soft but absolute. Or I will be very disappointed. There was a weight to those words, a suggestion that disappointing Dante Caruso was something to be avoided at all costs. He shifted Luca to his other arm and stepped closer. Too close. I could feel the heat radiating from his body, could see the fine stubble along his jaw, could count the flecks of gold in those dark eyes. Thank you, he murmured, for saving what matters most to me. Then he reached out, and I thought he was going to shake my hand. Instead, his fingers brushed my cheek, so gentle it was barely there, but it sent electricity racing across my skin. He turned and walked away, his men falling into formation around him. I watched them leave, watched as they climbed into a black SUV with tinted windows that had been parked illegally right in front of the store entrance. The vehicle pulled away, and just like that, it was like they'd never been there, except for the card in my hand and the feeling of his fingers still burning on my cheek. I stood there, trembling, until the store manager approached nervously. Miss, are you all right? That was... Do you know who that was? I looked down at the card, then back up at him. Should I? His face went pale. Dante Caruso. He lowered his voice to barely a whisper. He's the head of the Caruso family, the Mafia, miss. You just met the most dangerous man in the city. The card slipped from my fingers and fluttered to the floor. I didn't sleep that night. Emma was curled against my side in our shared bed. Our apartment was too small for separate rooms, her breath warm and steady against my arm. Usually, her presence calmed me, reminded me why I worked myself to exhaustion, why every struggle was worth it. But tonight, I couldn't stop shaking. The business card sat on our tiny kitchen table, face down, like not seeing the number would make it less real. Dante Caruso, the Mafia. I'd grown up on stories about the mob, dramatized versions on TV shows and movies, men in dark suits making offers you couldn't refuse, violence wrapped in expensive cologne and Italian leather shoes. I'd always thought it was exaggerated, Hollywood nonsense designed to thrill audiences, but the way people had scattered in that grocery store, the way the manager's face had drained of color, the men in suits who'd moved with barely restrained violence that hadn't been acting, and his eyes. God, those eyes when he'd looked at me. Like I was something rare he'd found, something he wanted to keep. I finally drifted off near dawn, only to be jolted awake 2 hours later by Emma bouncing on the bed. "Mama! Mama, you're gonna be late for work," I groaned and checked my phone. She was right. I had 40 minutes to get her to Mrs. Chen's and make it across town to the diner. I threw off the covers and we went through our morning routine on autopilot. Cereal for Emma, coffee for me, brushing teeth, finding shoes, grabbing backpacks. Mrs. Chen met us at her door with her usual warm smile. She was 72 and refused payment for watching Emma, claiming she was lonely anyway and enjoyed the company. I paid her what I could, slipping 20s into her hand when she wasn't looking, knowing she tucked them into Emma's backpack when I wasn't looking. We had an unspoken agreement to take care of each other. "You look tired, Sophie," Mrs. Chen said, her wrinkled hand patting my cheek. "More than usual. Bad dreams," I lied. Emma hugged me goodbye, already distracted by the promise of Mrs. Chen's homemade dumplings for lunch. I kissed the top of her head, breathing in the scent of her strawberry shampoo, and left. The diner was its usual chaotic mess during breakfast rush. Hank's place had been serving the same greasy food for 40 years, and the clientele reflected it. Truck drivers, construction workers, elderly couples nursing coffee for hours. The air smelled like bacon grease and burnt coffee, and the black and white checkered floor was permanently stained no matter how much bleach we used. "You're late," Marcy said, not looking up from the order she was scribbling. She was 50-something, had worked there longer than I'd been alive, and had a perpetually exhausted expression that I was probably starting to mirror. 3 minutes, I said, tying my apron. "Still late. Table 6 has been waiting." I grabbed my order pad and fell into the rhythm. Smile. Take orders. Smile. Deliver food. Smile. Refill coffee. Smile. The hours blurred together in a haze of demanding customers and sore feet. It was almost noon when everything changed. The diner went quiet. Not gradually. It was like someone had flipped a switch, cutting off conversations mid-word. I looked up from the table I was clearing and felt my stomach drop. 3 men in dark suits had entered. I recognized the type now, even if I didn't recognize their faces. They moved like Dante's men had moved, purposeful, dangerous, scanning the room with professional precision, and then he walked in behind them, Dante Caruso, looking impossibly out of place in the rundown diner. His suit probably cost more than everything in the building combined. He wore sunglasses despite being indoors, but he pulled them off as he entered, and those dark eyes swept the room before landing on me. My hands went numb. The plates I was holding clattered onto the table. He walked toward me, and the crowd parted like water. Conversations didn't resume. Everyone was watching, though they were trying to pretend they weren't. Hank had come out of the kitchen and was standing frozen by the grill, his face pale. "Sophie." Dante stopped in front of me, close enough that I had to tilt my head back to meet his eyes. "You didn't call." My mouth was dry. It was just one day. I didn't think... You didn't think I was serious." He glanced around the diner, taking in the cracked vinyl booths, the flickering fluorescent lights, the faded posters on the walls. His expression didn't change, but I felt him cataloging every detail. "This is where you work." It wasn't a question, but I nodded anyway. "How long?" 3 years. "How many hours?" I hesitated. "That depends on the week." "How many hours, Sophie?" There was steel under the gentle tone. "Usually around 60, sometimes more." Something flickered across his face. Anger maybe, but not directed at me. He turned to one of his men and said something in rapid Italian. The man nodded and pulled out his phone, stepping away. "You need to leave," I whispered urgently. "You're scaring the customers. You're going to get me fired." "Fired?" He repeated the word like it was foreign. "For what? Greeting a customer?" "You're not a customer." "No?" He reached past me and picked up a menu from the table, studying it with apparent interest. "I think I'd like coffee. And pancakes. Do you recommend the pancakes, Sophie?" This was insane. Surreal. Dante Caruso, head of the Mafia, was ordering pancakes from me in a greasy spoon diner while his bodyguards watched the exits. "They're... fine," I managed. Then, I'll have those. He handed me the menu, his fingers brushing mine deliberately. And we'll talk while I eat. I'm working. I'm a customer. Customers talk to their waitresses. He gestured to a booth in the corner, the one with the best view of the entrance and exits, I noted. That table is acceptable. It wasn't a request. I led him to the booth, acutely aware of every eye in the diner following us. His men took positions around the restaurant. One by the door, one by the kitchen, one near the windows. Professional. Military. Dante slid into the booth, and I stood there with my order pad, trying to remember how to breathe normally. You're trembling, he observed quietly. You're terrifying my customers. They'll recover. He leaned back, completely relaxed, like he owned the place. Maybe he did. I didn't know how these things worked. Sit. I can't. I'm working, Sophie. My name again, soft and commanding. Sit down. I glanced toward Hank, who made a frantic gesture that might have been permission, or might have been a prayer. I slid into the booth across from Dante, my back rigid, hands clutched in my lap. Why are you here? I asked. I told you. I wanted to see where you work. His eyes roamed over my face, studying me with that same intense focus from yesterday. I wanted to understand. Understand what? Why you didn't call. I told you there's no debt. I don't need anything from you. Liar. The word was gentle, almost affectionate. You need everything. I had you investigated, Sophie Mitchell. Ice flooded my veins. You what? After you left yesterday, I had my people find out everything about you. He said it calmly, like it was the most normal thing in the world. Single mother. 28 years old. Daughter named Emma, age 5. Father unknown. No, not unknown. Absent. Marcus Webb. Warehouse worker who left when you were 6 months pregnant. You work 60 to 70 hours a week between this diner and a second job cleaning offices at night. You're 3 months behind on rent. Your car needs repairs you can't afford. Emma needs new shoes, new clothes, a doctor's appointment you've been postponing because you don't have insurance. You have $87 in your bank account. Each fact was a hammer blow. I felt exposed, stripped bare. Every private struggle laid out for his examination. Tears burned behind my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. You had no right, I whispered. I had every right. You saved my son. That makes you my responsibility now. I'm not your responsibility. I'm not anything to you. His hand moved across the table, lightning fast, catching my wrist before I could pull away. His grip was firm but not painful, his thumb resting against my pulse point where my heart was racing. You are everything to me, he said quietly, and the intensity in his voice made my breath catch. Do you understand? From the moment my son pointed to you, from the moment I saw how you looked at him with such kindness, such care, a stranger's child, I knew. You are what I've been looking for without knowing I was looking. You're crazy, I breathed. Probably. His thumb stroked once across my pulse, a gentle caress that sent heat spiraling through me. But I am also right. You felt it too yesterday, when I touched your face, when our eyes met. You felt this thing between us. I had. God help me, I had. But feeling something and acting on it were different things, especially when the man was apparently a crime lord who had me investigated like I was some kind of project. Let me go, I said. He did, immediately, his hand retreating, but his eyes never left mine. Marcy appeared beside the table, her voice shaking slightly. Your order, sir. Coffee, pancakes, and whatever Sophie usually eats on her break. I'm not hungry, I said. You're always hungry. You skip meals to save money. He looked up at Marcy. Bring her food. Marcy fled. I wanted to flee too, but I was trapped in the booth by his presence, by those eyes that seemed to see through every defense I'd built. I'm going to make you an offer, Dante said, and I want you to think carefully before you refuse. I don't want your money. I'm not offering money. I'm offering everything. He leaned forward, his voice dropping to barely above a whisper. Your rent, paid, your car, Fixed. Emma's needs. Met. Your debts. Erased. All of it, Sophie. I will take care of all of it. The offer was dizzying, tempting in a way that physically hurt. In exchange for what? Your time, your attention. His hand moved back across the table, palm up, waiting. An invitation. Let me court you. I stared at his hand, at the calluses that suggested he was more than just a man in an expensive suit, at the scars that told stories I probably didn't want to know. Court me, I repeated. Is that not the right word? My English is good, but sometimes... He made a frustrated gesture. I want to know you, to see you, to have you in my life, properly, with respect. You're in the Mafia. Yes. You hurt people. Yes. No denial, no justification, just simple honesty. I have a daughter. I know. I want to meet her. Absolutely not. The words came out sharp, protective instinct overriding fear. You stay away from Emma. Something like approval flickered in his eyes. You protect her. Good. A mother should be fierce. But Sophie, I would never harm a child. Luca is my world. I understand what it means to be a parent. Marcy returned with coffee and my food, more than I'd normally order, covering the table. Dante dismissed her with a nod and pushed the plates toward me. Eat, he said, and think about what I'm offering. Not charity. Not a transaction. A genuine chance for something better. Why me? The question burst out. You're rich, powerful, you could have anyone. Why a broke waitress who can barely keep her head above water? His answer was immediate. Because when you found my son, you didn't see an opportunity. You didn't calculate what you might gain. You simply helped because he needed help. Because you are good, Sophie Mitchell. Genuinely good. And in my world, that is more rare than diamonds. I picked up my fork, more to have something to do with my hands than because I was hungry, but once I started eating, I realized I was starving. I always was. Dante watched me eat with satisfaction, sipping his coffee but ignoring his own food. I can't, I finally said. What you're offering, it's too much, too fast. I don't even know you. Then let me fix that. Dinner, tonight. Just conversation. You can ask me anything you want, and I will answer honestly. I work tonight. No, you don't. I've already spoken to your employer. You're taking the evening off. Paid. My head snapped up. You can't just... I can. I did. He tilted his head. Are you going to lecture me about overstepping? Or are you going to accept that I am a man who solves problems, and right now, you are my priority problem? I'm not a problem to be solved. No, you're a gift to be treasured. He stood, pulling out his wallet and dropping several $100 bills on the table. That's for your service. Excellent coffee. He hadn't touched his pancakes. I'll send a car for you at 7, he said. Dress comfortably. We'll go somewhere quiet where we can talk. I didn't say yes. You didn't say no. He reached out and tucked a strand of hair behind my ear, his fingers lingering for just a moment. 7 o'clock, Sophie. Don't make me worry. Then he was gone, his men following like shadows, and the diner erupted into frantic whispers the moment the door closed behind them. I sat there, staring at the money on the table, and wondered what I'd just agreed to. I told myself I wasn't going to go. I repeated it like a mantra while I picked up Emma from Mrs. Chen's, while I helped her with her coloring books, while I made dinner, mac and cheese from a box because it was cheap and she loved it. I wasn't going to get in a car sent by a mobster. I wasn't going to have dinner with a dangerous man who'd had me investigated like I was some kind of security risk. I definitely wasn't going to let myself feel flattered by his attention. But at 6:30, I was standing in front of our closet, really just a rack with a curtain, staring at my pathetic collection of clothes. Everything was either stained, worn, or both. I had exactly one dress that wasn't falling apart, a simple navy blue thing I'd worn to a cousin's wedding 2 years ago. It was probably out of style, definitely too formal for wherever we were going, but it was all I had. You look pretty, Mama, Emma said from the bed, where she was arranging her collection of plastic dinosaurs in some elaborate scene only she understood. I'm just meeting someone for dinner. A work thing. The lie tasted bitter. Emma was too young to understand, but I still hated lying to her. "Mrs. Chen says she'll come watch me?" Emma looked up hopefully. She loved when Mrs. Chen babysat, because it meant dumplings and Chinese cartoons. "Yes, baby. She'll be here soon." The knock came at 6:55. Not Mrs. Chen's tentative tap, but a firm, confident knock that made my stomach flip. I opened the door expecting one of Dante's suited men. Instead, I found a woman. She was probably in her 40s, elegant in a way I'd never be, wearing a designer pantsuit and carrying a large shopping bag. "Miss Mitchell? I'm Rosa. Mr. Caruso sent me." Her English had the same beautiful Italian accent as Dante's. "May I come in?" I stepped aside, acutely aware of how shabby our apartment must look. The secondhand furniture, the water stain on the ceiling we couldn't afford to fix, Emma's toys scattered across the floor. Rosa didn't seem to notice. She smiled warmly at Emma, then turned to me. "Mr. Caruso thought you might need assistance. I hope I'm not overstepping." She held out the shopping bag. Inside were clothes, beautiful clothes. A soft sweater in emerald green, dark jeans that looked like they'd actually fit, and, I felt my cheeks burn, undergarments still with tags from stores I'd never been able to shop in. "I can't accept this," I said automatically. Mr. Caruso was very clear. "You're to be comfortable tonight. Please, Miss Mitchell. It would be my job to help you if you refuse." Rosa's smile was gentle but knowing. "He can be insistent." That was an understatement. Mrs. Chen arrived moments later, and between her and Rosa, I was shooed into the bathroom to change. The clothes fit perfectly. Of course they did, because Dante had probably included my measurements in his creepy investigation, but I couldn't deny they made me feel different. The sweater was impossibly soft. The jeans hugged my curves in a way my worn-out pairs never had, and when I looked in our cracked mirror, I barely recognized myself. I looked like someone who had her life together. Someone who belonged in nice restaurants and expensive cars. It was a lie, but a convincing one. Rosa worked magic with my hair, pulling it into a soft bun that looked effortless, but probably wasn't. A touch of makeup, just enough to make me look alive instead of exhausted. When she was done, she stepped back with satisfaction. "Bellissima," she murmured. "Mr. Caruso will be very pleased." The car was waiting outside when I finally left. Not the black SUV from yesterday, but a sleek sedan with tinted windows. The driver, one of the suited men from the diner, opened the door without a word, and I climbed in before I could change my mind. The interior smelled like leather and money. The seats were heated. There was a bottle of water waiting, expensive brand, condensation beating on the glass. I didn't touch it. We drove for 20 minutes, leaving my neighborhood behind, moving into areas I'd only seen from bus windows on my way to cleaning jobs. Old money areas, historic homes, tree-lined streets that looked like something from a movie. The car pulled up to a restaurant I'd never heard of. No sign outside, just a discreet number beside a polished wooden door. The driver opened my door, and I stepped out onto the sidewalk, feeling like an imposter. Dante was waiting inside the entrance. He'd changed from his suit into something more casual. Dark slacks, a black shirt with the sleeves rolled to his forearms, exposing those scarred hands. His hair was slightly damp, like he'd showered recently. He looked younger without the formal suit, more approachable, but no less dangerous. His eyes traveled over me slowly, taking in every detail, and I saw the flash of male appreciation that made heat pool in my stomach. "You wore the clothes," he said. Rosa was very persuasive. Rosa is paid to be persuasive. He stepped closer, and I caught his scent again. That expensive cologne mixed with something warmer, more personal. "But you look beautiful, Sophie. Thank you for coming." "I'm not sure I had a choice." "You always have a choice." He offered his arm, old-fashioned and courtly. "But I'm grateful you chose this." The restaurant was small, intimate, with perhaps 10 tables total. We were led to a private room in the back, separated from the main dining area by a heavy curtain. One table, candles, and a window overlooking a garden I hadn't known existed in the middle of the city. No other customers, no staff hovering nearby, just us. "You rented the entire restaurant," I said. I value privacy. He pulled out my chair, waited until I sat, then took his own seat across from me, and I didn't want interruptions. Tonight is about you and me, nothing else. A waiter appeared. The owner, I realized from his formal bearing, and Dante ordered in rapid Italian. I caught words here and there, food terms I remembered from my college classes, but mostly I just listened to the music of his language. When we were alone again, he leaned back and studied me with those intense dark eyes. You're nervous. Shouldn't I be? You're in the Mafia. You had me investigated. You basically kidnapped me for dinner. I sent a car. Kidnapping implies force. You're splitting hairs. A smile tugged at his lips. Perhaps. But you're here, and that's what matters. So, you wanted to ask me questions. Ask. I had 1,000 questions, but they all jumbled together in my head. Finally, I settled on the most basic one. Why me? Really? Not the nice answer you gave at the diner. The truth. He was quiet for a long moment, his fingers drumming once on the table. When I was young, I watched my father destroy my mother. Not with fists, he never hit her, but with coldness, with neglect, with other women. She loved him desperately, and he treated that love like it was worthless. She died when I was 16, heartbroken. Literally. The doctors said it was heart failure, but I knew better. The candlelight cast shadows across his face, making him look older, harder. I swore I would never be like him. That if I ever found someone worth keeping, I would treasure her, protect her, give her everything. His eyes met mine. Then I spent 15 years building my empire and never finding anyone who made me feel anything beyond physical attraction. Beautiful women who wanted my money, my power, my name. None of them looked at Luca the way you did. I looked at him like he was a scared child. Exactly. Not as leverage, not as an opportunity, just as a child who needed help. He leaned forward. Do you know what my world is like, Sophie? Everyone wants something. Everyone has an angle. Trust is currency more valuable than gold, and it's almost impossible to find. Then you appeared, speaking my language to my son, asking for nothing, and I thought, here is something real. The waiter returned with wine and the first course, something delicate and perfect that I couldn't name. Dante waited until we were alone again before continuing. I am not a good man. I need you to understand that. I have done terrible things. I will do terrible things again. My world is violent and dark, and I cannot change that. Then why would you want me in it? Why would you want Emma anywhere near it? Because you are the light, he said simply. And I am selfish enough to want to keep that light for myself, even knowing I might dim it. I should have left. Should have stood up, walked out, never looked back. But his honesty was disarming, and underneath the danger, I could see something genuine, something lonely. Tell me about Luca's mother, I said. His expression shuddered. She died in childbirth. I barely knew her. An arrangement between families, old world tradition. We had one night together, and then she was gone. Luca is all I have of her, and I love him more than my own life. I'm sorry. Don't be. I grieve for Luca's loss, not my own, but it means I understand what it is to be a single parent, to have everything rest on your shoulders. He paused. Marcus, Emma's father. Tell me about him. I took a sip of wine, buying time. The alcohol was smooth, expensive, nothing like the cheap stuff I occasionally splurged on. There's not much to tell. We were together for 2 years. I thought we'd get married. Then I got pregnant, and suddenly he wasn't ready for that responsibility. He left before she was born, sends a card on her birthday sometimes, but no money, no visits. He started over with someone else, someone without baggage. He's a fool. He's free. I'm the one struggling. You're a warrior. Dante's voice was fierce. You fight every day for your daughter. You work yourself to exhaustion. You sacrifice everything. That's not weakness, Sophie. That's strength most people can't imagine. Tears burned my eyes. I'd been surviving for so long. I'd forgotten what it felt like to have someone see that survival as something other than failure. I scare you, he said softly. Yes. Good. You should be scared. but I need you to understand something." He reached across the table, his hand open, waiting. After a moment, I placed my hand in his. His fingers closed around mine, warm and strong. "I will never hurt you. I will never hurt Emma. My protection extends to you now, both of you. That's not negotiable. I didn't ask for protection. You didn't have to. The moment you helped Luca, you became mine to protect." He said it with absolute certainty, like he was stating a law of physics. "There are people in this city who would use you against me if they knew I cared. So I need you to be careful. I need you to let my people watch over you. Your people. A driver. Security. Just to keep you safe. That's insane. I'm nobody." "You're everything," he corrected. "And I protect what's mine." The possessiveness should have terrified me. Instead, it sent a thrill through my body that I didn't want to examine too closely. We ate. He told me about growing up in Italy, about the beauty of his hometown, about coming to America as a teenager and building his empire from nothing. I told him about Emma, about her love of dinosaurs and her terrible jokes, about how she wanted to be a paleontologist when she grew up. He listened like every word mattered. Like I mattered. Dessert arrived. Something chocolate and decadent, and I was surprised to realize 3 hours had passed. The conversation had flowed easily once I'd relaxed, and I'd laughed more tonight than I had in months. "I should get back," I said reluctantly. "Emma will be asleep, but Mrs. Chen is being compensated generously for her time." Dante signaled the waiter. "But yes, I'll take you home. I want to see where you live. Properly, I mean. Not just the address from an investigation report." The drive back felt shorter. Dante sat beside me in the back seat, his thigh pressed against mine, his hand resting near my knee, not touching, but close enough that I felt the heat. "When can I see you again?" he asked as we pulled onto my street. "I work tomorrow. Both jobs. Then I'll come to the diner for lunch. And I'm hiring a cleaning service for your night job. You're quitting that one. You can't just..." He turned to face me, his hand cupping my cheek. "Yes, I can, and I will. You're exhausted, Sophie. You're running yourself into the ground, and I won't watch you destroy yourself when I can stop it. This is moving too fast. No, this is me making up for lost time. I've been waiting my whole life to find you. I'm not going to waste another day." His thumb brushed my cheekbone. "Let me take care of you. Please." The please undid me. This powerful, dangerous man saying please like my acceptance mattered more than anything. "Okay," I whispered. His smile was brilliant, transforming his face. "Okay." He walked me to my door, his hand resting on the small of my back. Mrs. Chen answered, took one look at us, and smiled knowingly. "Emma's asleep. She was very good." Her eyes twinkled. "And you look happy, Sophie. That's good." Dante handed her an envelope. "For your time, Mrs. Chen, and for taking such good care of Sophie's daughter." She opened it, gasped at whatever was inside, and immediately tried to give it back. "No, this is too much. It's exactly right." Dante's voice was gentle but firm. "Thank you for being kind to Sophie when she needed kindness." He turned to me, and for a moment I thought he might kiss me. I could see the want in his eyes, feel the tension between us. But instead, he raised my hand to his lips and pressed a kiss to my knuckles. "Sogni d'oro, Sophie," he murmured. "Sweet dreams. I'll see you tomorrow." I watched him walk away, watched the car pull off, and realized I was in serious trouble. Because I didn't feel scared anymore. I felt alive. The flowers arrived at 6 a.m. I was making breakfast, instant oatmeal because we were out of cereal, when the knock came. Emma ran to answer it before I could stop her, and I arrived at the door to find a delivery man holding an enormous bouquet of white roses. At least 3 dozen, perfect and pristine, wrapped in expensive paper. The card was simple. "Thinking of you. D. Mama, who sent flowers?" Emma's eyes were wide with wonder. She'd never seen fresh flowers in our apartment before. I couldn't afford things like that. "A friend." I took the bouquet, the scent overwhelming in our small space. There was nowhere to put them. I didn't own a vase, I ended up filling an old pasta sauce jar with water and cramming as many stems as would fit. The rest I distributed into drinking glasses, until our tiny kitchen looked like a funeral home, a beautiful, expensive funeral home. My phone buzzed. An unknown number, but I knew who it was before I opened the message. "Good morning, Bella. Did you sleep well?" I shouldn't respond. I should maintain boundaries, keep distance. Remember that this man was dangerous and this situation was insane. I typed back, "The flowers are too much." His response was immediate. "Nothing is too much for you. What time do you work today?" 10 to 6. "I'll see you at noon. Wear comfortable shoes." Why? It's a surprise. Trust me. Trust him. The Mafia boss who'd had me investigated, who'd essentially taken over my life in less than 48 hours, who made me feel things I hadn't felt since before Marcus destroyed me. I was either the bravest or stupidest woman alive. Work started normally enough, the breakfast rush, the usual customers, Marcy's perpetual exhaustion matching my own. But at 11:30, Hank called me into his office, a generous term for the closet-sized space where he did paperwork. "Sophie, I need to talk to you about yesterday." He looked uncomfortable, shifting in his chair. "That man, Dante Caruso. Are you involved with him?" I didn't know how to answer that. "He's just helping me out. As a thank you for finding his son." "Right. His son." Hank didn't look convinced. "Look, I don't want trouble. The Carusos, they're powerful people. Dangerous people. If you're in over your head, I'm fine, Hank, I promise. He paid me." The words came out in a rush. "Last night, after you left, one of his men came back, gave me an envelope. There was $10,000 inside, and a note that said it was for being a good employer to you." My stomach dropped. "Hank, I'm not complaining. Business has been slow, and that money means I can keep the diner open another few months. But Sophie, men like that don't give away money for nothing. He's claiming you, marking his territory. Everyone in this neighborhood will know by tomorrow that you're under Caruso protection. I didn't ask for that. Doesn't matter. That's how their world works." Hank leaned forward, his expression serious. "Just be careful. These men, they're not like us. They play by different rules." I returned to my tables with Hank's words echoing in my head, marking his territory. The possessiveness should have infuriated me, but instead, I felt something else. Something warm and protected that I hadn't felt in years. At exactly noon, the diner door opened, and Dante walked in. He wasn't alone. Luca was with him, the little boy's hand clasped firmly in his father's. Luca saw me, and his face lit up with recognition. "Sophie!" He broke away from Dante and ran to me, wrapping his small arms around my legs. "Papa said we could see you." My heart melted. I crouched down to his level. "Hi, Luca. It's so good to see you again." He chattered at me in Italian, too fast for me to follow, his excitement palpable. Dante approached, and I stood, very aware of every eye in the diner watching us. "You brought him," I said. "He asked about you. The lady who spoke his language, who made him feel safe." Dante's eyes were soft as he watched his son. I couldn't say no. Marcy appeared, looking nervous. "Your usual table, Mr. Caruso?" He'd been here once. One time. And already he had a usual table. We sat, Luca between us, bouncing with energy. I tried to work, but Dante waved away my order pad. "You're taking your lunch break," he said. It wasn't a question. "I haven't asked." Hank approved it. Of course he had. "Sit. Eat with us. Luca wants to show you something." The little boy was already pulling papers from a backpack, drawings he'd made. Crayon pictures of stick figures, one tall with dark hair, his papa, one small, him, and one with yellow hair and a smile. "That's you," Luca said proudly in Italian. "I drew you because you were nice to me." The picture was childish and perfect, and I felt tears prick my eyes. "It's beautiful. Can I keep it?" His enthusiastic nod was answer enough. Dante watched us with an expression I couldn't quite read. Satisfaction mixed with something deeper, more intense. Lunch arrived. More food than 3 people could eat. Luca chatted between bites, mixing Italian and English in a way only children could manage. He told me about his school, his friends, his favorite cartoons. He asked about Emma, his eyes lighting up when I showed him pictures on my phone. "Can I meet her?" Luca asked. "Can we be friends?" I glanced at Dante, uncertain. Letting our children meet felt significant, like crossing a line I couldn't uncross. "Would you like that?" Dante asked quietly. "For them to meet?" "I don't know if that's a good idea." "Why not?" "They're close in age. Luca needs more friends, and from what you've told me, Emma could use playmates too." He was right. Emma's social life consisted of Mrs. Chen and whatever kids were at the playground. Making friends required money for activities, classes, playdates at places nicer than our cramped apartment. "Maybe," I conceded. "Sometime. This weekend." Dante pulled out his phone, typing rapidly. "Saturday. I'll send a car. We'll take them to the aquarium, then lunch. Something fun and innocent where they can get to know each other. You're very used to getting your way." "Yes." No apology in his tone, but in this case, I think I'm right. Our children should know each other, Sophie. They're going to be part of each other's lives. The certainty in his voice sent shivers through me. He spoke like our future was already decided, like he could see something I couldn't yet imagine. After lunch, Dante announced we were leaving. "You're done for the day." "My shift isn't over. It is now." I cleared it with Hank. He helped Luca with his backpack, then offered me his hand. "Come. I have something to show you." I should have protested, should have insisted on staying, on maintaining my independence, but Luca was looking at me with those sweet brown eyes, and Dante was watching me with patient certainty, and I found myself taking his hand. The car was waiting. The SUV this time, with enough room for all of us. Luca climbed in beside me, still chattering, while Dante sat on his other side. The driver pulled away from the diner, and I watched my workplace recede with a strange sense of unreality. We drove for 15 minutes before pulling up to a building I didn't recognize. Nice neighborhood. Well-maintained. The kind of place that had working elevators and lobbies that didn't smell like mildew. "Where are we?" I asked as Dante helped me out of the car. "You'll see." We took the elevator to the 4th floor. Dante produced a key and opened a door, gesturing for me to enter first. The apartment took my breath away. It was beautiful. 2 bedrooms. I could see them down the hall, with an open living space that had actual sunlight streaming through clean windows. The kitchen had modern appliances and countertops that weren't peeling. The furniture was new, comfortable, the kind of cozy that made you want to curl up and stay forever. "What is this?" My voice came out as a whisper. "It's yours." Dante said it simply, like he was offering me coffee instead of an entire apartment. "If you want it. 2 bedrooms, 1 for you, 1 for Emma. Safe neighborhood. Good schools nearby. Already furnished. You can move in this weekend." I turned to stare at him. "You bought me an apartment. Technically, I'm leasing it. Long term. But yes." "Dante, You can't stay where you are, Sophie. I've seen the reports. Your building has code violations. The wiring is dangerous. There was a break-in 2 doors down from you last month." His voice hardened. "You and Emma deserve better. This is better." "This is insane. We've known each other for 2 days. 3 days, he corrected, "and I don't need more time to know what I want. I want you safe. I want Emma safe. This makes you safe." Luca had wandered into one of the bedrooms, and I could hear him exclaiming over something in Italian. Dante stepped closer, his hands coming up to frame my face. "I know this is fast. I know I'm overwhelming you, but Sophie, please understand. In my world, we move quickly because tomorrow is never guaranteed. When I see something I want, I take it. When I find something precious, I protect it." His thumbs brushed my cheekbones. "You are precious. Let me protect you. What do you want from me?" The question came out broken. "Really? What's the endgame here?" "I want everything." His honesty was brutal. "I want you in my life, in my bed. I want to wake up next to you and fall asleep holding you. I want to watch our children play together. I want to give you the life you deserve instead of the one you've been forced to survive. You want to own me." "No." The word was fierce. "I want to treasure you. There's a difference. You'll keep your independence, your choices, your autonomy. But I'll be there, providing, protecting, caring for you the way you deserve to be cared for. My heart was racing so fast I thought it might burst. This was madness. Beautiful, tempting madness. I need time, I whispered, to think, to process all of this. Take the time you need. He pressed a kiss to my forehead, gentle and reverent, but take it here, where you're safe. Move in this weekend. Let me do this for you. Please, Sophie. That please again, devastating in its sincerity. Okay, I heard myself say. Okay. His smile was radiant. Thank you. You won't regret this, I promise. But as I looked around the beautiful apartment, at the life he was offering me on a silver platter, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was making a deal with the devil. A devil with kind eyes and a son who drew pictures of me. A devil who might actually care. Luca ran back into the room, grabbed my hand, and pulled me toward the bedrooms to show me everything he'd discovered. Dante followed, and for a moment we looked like a family. A real family, and God help me, I wanted it. The move happened so fast it felt like a dream. Saturday morning, a moving truck appeared at my old apartment. Not just any truck. A professional crew that packed everything we owned in less than 2 hours. They handled our meager possessions like they were fragile treasures, instead of secondhand junk held together by hope and duct tape. Emma was beside herself with excitement. She'd seen the new apartment the day before when Dante had insisted on showing it to her properly, and she'd fallen in love immediately. Her new room had pale purple walls and a window seat that overlooked a small park. Dante had somehow discovered her dinosaur obsession and filled the room with stuffed prehistoric creatures and educational posters about paleontology. Mama, this is the best day ever. She bounced from room to room, her joy so pure it made my chest ache. Mrs. Chen had cried when I told her we were moving. Not sad tears, happy ones. You deserve this, Sophie. You deserve someone who sees how special you are. But she'd also gripped my hand tightly and whispered, Be careful. Men like him, they love intensely, but they also destroy completely. Don't lose yourself. I'd promised I wouldn't, but I wasn't sure it was a promise I could keep. By afternoon we were settled. Dante had arranged for the apartment to be stocked. A full refrigerator, pantry filled with actual food instead of ramen and canned soup, cleaning supplies, everything we could possibly need. The closets had new clothes for both Emma and me, sized perfectly because of course they were. He hadn't come himself, something about business that couldn't be postponed. But he'd sent Rosa to help us settle in. She was patient with Emma, kind to me, and never once made me feel like charity. My phone buzzed as we were unpacking Emma's books. How is the apartment? Is Emma happy? I smiled despite myself. She's thrilled. Thank you for all of this. I want to see you tonight. Dinner. Just us. I can't leave Emma on her first night in a new place. Then I'll come to you. I'll bring food. Say yes, Sophie. I should have said no. Should have established boundaries, maintained distance, but I was exhausted and overwhelmed, and the thought of seeing him made something warm bloom in my chest. Okay. 7 o'clock. He arrived at exactly 7, arms laden with bags from an Italian restaurant I recognized from magazine reviews. The kind of place that required reservations months in advance. Behind him came Luca, clutching a wrapped present. For Emma, the little boy announced proudly, because she's my new friend. Emma took the gift with wide eyes and tore into it, a beautifully illustrated book about dinosaurs, the expensive kind with glossy pages and scientific accuracy. She hugged it to her chest and beamed at Luca. Thank you. Do you want to see my room? I have dinosaurs too. The children disappeared down the hall, and suddenly Dante and I were alone in my new kitchen. He set the food on the counter and turned to me, his eyes traveling over my face like he was memorizing every detail. You look tired, he said softly. Moving is exhausting. You should have let me send more help. Rosa was plenty. More would have been overwhelming. I started unpacking the food, needing something to do with my hands. This smells incredible. Homemade, from my grandmother's restaurant. He caught my wrist gently, stopping my movements. Sophie, look at me. I did, and the intensity in his gaze stole my breath. Are you happy here? He asked. Yes. But Dante, this is all so much. Not enough, he interrupted. It will never be enough. Do you understand? I want to give you the world, and this apartment is just the beginning. Why? The question burst out. Why do you care so much? We barely know each other. He was quiet for a long moment, his thumb stroking the inside of my wrist where my pulse was racing. When I was 12, my mother tried to leave my father. She packed our bags in secret, planned to take me and disappear. But he found out. He didn't hurt her physically. He was too smart for that. Instead, he destroyed everything she loved. Her garden, her paintings, the letters from her family in Italy. He made her watch as he burned it all. His voice was steady, but I could hear the old pain underneath. She never tried to leave again. She just faded, became a ghost in her own home. And I swore that if I ever had power, I would use it to protect the people I cared about, to give them choices instead of taking them away. Is that what this is? Protecting me? Yes. But it's also selfish. I want you, Sophie. I want you in every way a man can want a woman. But I need to know you're choosing me freely, not because you're desperate or scared or have no other options. His free hand came up to cup my face. This apartment, the security, the money, it's all yours regardless of what happens between us. You're not trapped. You can walk away whenever you want. And if I stay, then I'll spend the rest of my life making sure you never regret it. He leaned in slowly, giving me time to pull away, but I didn't. His lips brushed mine, soft and questioning, and I felt something inside me crack open. The kiss deepened, his hand sliding into my hair, and I pressed closer, hungry for this connection I'd been denying myself. We broke apart when we heard the children's laughter down the hall. Dante rested his forehead against mine, his breathing unsteady. "Stay for dinner," I whispered. "I'll stay for as long as you'll have me." We ate together, all four of us crowded around my new dining table. Emma and Luca chattered between bites, already forming the kind of easy friendship only children could manage. Dante watched them with such tenderness, it made my heart ache. After dinner, after Emma and Luca had fallen asleep in Emma's new bed, a tangle of limbs and dinosaurs, Dante and I sat on the couch with wine he'd brought. Expensive, smooth, warming me from the inside. "Tell me about your business," I said. "The real business, not the legitimate front." He didn't flinch from the question. "My family has been in organized crime for 4 generations. Protection, gambling, some trade in goods that aren't exactly legal. I inherited the operation when I was 23, when my father was killed by a rival family." "Were you close? To your father?" "No. He was a brutal man who ruled through fear. I'm trying to be different, to modernize, to reduce the violence when possible." He paused. "But I'm not going to lie to you, Sophie. There is still violence. There are still things I do that would horrify you if you knew the details." "Have you killed people?" "Yes." No hesitation. "And I'll kill again if someone threatens what's mine. If someone threatened you or Emma or Luca, I wouldn't hesitate." I should have been terrified. Instead, I felt a dark thrill at the fierce protectiveness in his voice. "There are risks," he continued, "to being with me. Other families who might try to use you against me. Law enforcement who might investigate you because of your connection to me. Your life will never be completely normal again." "My life has never been normal," I pointed out. "I've been surviving day to day for 5 years. At least this way, Emma will have opportunities I could never give her." "You're not doing this just for her." His eyes searched mine. "Are you? Tell me you feel this too. This pull between us." I could lie. Could pretend I was just a practical single mother making the best of an unusual situation. But he deserved honesty. "I feel it," I admitted. "From the moment you looked at me in that grocery store, I've felt it. Like gravity. Like inevitability. It terrifies me." "Good." He set down his wine and pulled me into his lap, his arms wrapping around me with careful strength. "Because you terrify me too. The idea of losing you, of something happening to you, it's the only thing I fear anymore." We stayed like that for a long time, wrapped in each other, listening to the distant sounds of the city. Eventually he shifted, tilting my face up to his. I should go. It's late, and you need to rest. Stay. The word came out before I could stop it. Just to sleep. I don't want to be alone tonight. Something fierce and possessive flashed in his eyes. Are you sure? Yes. We checked on the children, still sleeping peacefully, then retreated to my bedroom. It felt strange and intimate. Watching Dante remove his jacket and shoes, rolling up his sleeves, he saw me watching and smiled. I won't touch you unless you ask me to, he promised. Tonight is just about being close. We lay together in my new bed, and he pulled me against his chest, his heartbeat steady beneath my ear. His hand stroked my hair with surprising gentleness. Sophie? Thank you. For giving me a chance. For trusting me even when you shouldn't. I tilted my head up to look at him. Don't make me regret it. Never. He kissed my forehead. Sleep now. I've got you. And for the first time in 5 years, I felt safe enough to completely let go. The weeks that followed were a strange new rhythm. Dante was present in ways Marcus had never been, showing up at the apartment with dinner, taking Emma and Luca to parks and museums, slowly becoming a fixture in our lives. He respected boundaries I set, never pushing too fast, but his intention was always clear. He wanted forever. The diner closed 2 months later. Hank retired with enough money to live comfortably, and while I felt guilty about it, I couldn't deny the relief of not working myself to exhaustion anymore. Dante had hired me, legitimately, to help manage the charitable foundation his family ran as a front. The work was interesting, the hours reasonable, and I could pick Emma up from her new school myself, but peace never lasts forever. It was a Tuesday evening when everything changed. Dante had come for dinner, a regular occurrence now, and we were cleaning up while the children played. My phone rang. Unknown number. Sophie Mitchell? A man's voice, cold and unfamiliar. Yes? You need to listen very carefully. Your daughter's father, Marcus Webb, stole from the wrong people. He owes a debt. Since he's disappeared, that debt falls to you. Ice flooded my veins. I don't have anything to do with Marcus. You have his daughter. That makes you involved. You have 48 hours to produce $50,000, or there will be consequences. The line went dead. I must have made a sound because suddenly Dante was there, taking the phone from my shaking hands, his expression darkening as I stammered out what the man had said. His fury was cold and terrifying. He made 3 phone calls in rapid Italian, his voice sharp as broken glass. Then he turned to me, and his expression softened. This ends tonight, he said. No one threatens what's mine, Dante. What are you going to do? What I do best. He called for his men. They'd been waiting outside, and issued orders. Then he cupped my face in his hands. Stay here, lock the doors. Don't answer for anyone but Rosa or me. Do you understand? You're scaring me. Good. Be scared enough to be careful. But trust that I will handle this. He kissed me, hard and possessive. No one touches my family. No one. He left, and the apartment felt empty without him. Rosa arrived 20 minutes later with 2 additional guards. The children were oblivious. But I couldn't eat, couldn't think, couldn't breathe properly. It was 3 in the morning when my phone rang. Dante. It's done, he said simply. Marcus's debt is paid. The men who threatened you won't be a problem anymore. What did you do? What was necessary? Sleep now, Bella. You're safe. Emma's safe. I promise you. I wanted to ask more, wanted details, but part of me didn't want to know. Some doors, once opened, couldn't be closed. When Dante appeared the next morning, there was blood under his fingernails he'd missed. I saw it when he reached for his coffee, and our eyes met across the table. He didn't apologize, didn't explain. He'd killed for me, for Emma, and I couldn't bring myself to be horrified. That night, after Emma was asleep, I went to him. We'd been dancing around this for months, the tension building, but I was done waiting. Sophie? He looked up from his phone, surprised to see me in the living room doorway. I crossed to him and kissed him with all the fear and relief and need I'd been holding back. He responded immediately, pulling me into his lap, his hands tangling in my hair. "Are you sure?" He breathed against my lips. "I'm sure. I love you, Dante. I think I've loved you since that first day." His eyes went dark with emotion. "Ti amo, Sophie. More than I thought I could love anyone." That night, he made love to me like I was precious, like I was everything. And in the darkness, wrapped in his arms, I finally let myself believe in happy endings. 6 months later, the proposal came on a Sunday morning, with both children present and conspiring. Emma and Luca had made signs that said, "Will you marry Papa?" in crayon, and Dante had gotten down on one knee in our living room, our home, with a ring that took my breath away. "I know I'm not perfect," he said. "I know my world is complicated and dangerous, but I love you, Sophie Mitchell. I love Emma like she's my own. I want us to be a real family. Say yes, please say yes." I said yes. The wedding was small, intimate, just family and close friends. Luca was the ring bearer, Emma the flower girl, and when Dante kissed me at the altar, I tasted salt from both our tears. We honeymooned in Italy, where he showed me the town where he'd grown up, the streets his mother had walked, the places that had shaped him. We made love under Mediterranean stars, and he whispered promises in Italian that I was finally fluent enough to understand. When we returned home, Emma asked when she could start calling Dante Dad. "Whenever you're ready, Piccola," he told her, lifting her into his arms. "I'm ready now," she said simply. And just like that, our family was complete. Life wasn't perfect. Dante's business still required things I didn't ask about. There were still dangers, still threats we navigated carefully. But we had each other. We had our children. We had love that felt like coming home. On our first anniversary, Dante gave me a gift, the deed to Mrs. Chen's apartment building. He'd bought it and made sure she'd never worry about rent again. "You take care of the people you love," he said when I cried. I learned that from you. I'd walked into a grocery store 5 years ago, exhausted and invisible, just trying to survive. I'd helped a lost little boy because it was the right thing to do, and somehow, that single act of kindness had given me everything I'd stopped dreaming was possible. As I watched Dante play with our children in the garden of our new home, bigger now, room for the family we were building, I sent a silent thank you to whatever twist of fate had brought us together. I'd been drowning, and he'd pulled me to shore. Now we were both finally breathing, finally home.